Good evening. It's Paul at the Garland County Library, and I'm back for about the 8th time or something like that with Mary Zunick, who's the Hot Springs Cultural Affairs Manager. And this is the 4th out of at least 6 episodes in the ongoing Gallery Walk Talk series, which is hosted on the first Wednesday monthly, where Mary here talks not just about the long-running monthly Gallery Walk event, but also highlights and interviews some local artists. So far, our artists and guests have included Jim Larkin of Fox Pottery, the experimental multimedia artist Barbara Cade, and last month we had a special trio of Sherry Glover Thompson, country soul artist Petrilla, and host of Arkansans Stephen Cook, who talked about Hot Springs native songwriter and record producer Henry Glover. And all 3 of those episodes are available to watch where you're watching right now on the library's Facebook or YouTube channels. But tonight's guest is Dolores Justus, who owns the beautiful Justus Art Gallery in downtown Hot Springs and is an artist herself. And Mary Zunick here is going to give her a great introduction in just a moment. But last thing from me for now, if you're watching live, as always, and have questions or comments, I'll be sharing those with Mary and Dolores Justus after their segment here. And welcome, Mary.
Thank you so much, Paul. It's always a pleasure to speak with you. And boy, I know this is 8 times. I hope you don't get tired of hearing from me. But it's always a pleasure, and I'm just so grateful for your work and that all you do at the Garland County Library, all of the programming and how the library has actually expanded their offerings during the pandemic and made it accessible to so many more people through virtual programs like this, whether it's the Sister City programs or the Gallery Walk programs. And so tonight, kind of what we do for the Gallery Walk programs, we highlight a local artist. Hot Springs is so fortunate to have such a thriving arts community, so many interesting local artists. And so this, the goal of this is just to highlight and let the community get to know more about a different artist each month. And as Paul mentioned, our artist this month is Dolores Justus, and she's the owner of Justus Gallery. And of course, they always participate in Gallery Walk, which is the first Friday of every single month and has been for over 30 years. And so after I chat with Dolores a little bit and we learn a little bit more about her and see some of her work, and find out what will be happening at Justus Gallery for Gallery Walk this month, we'll move on and I will tell you a little bit about what's going on in some of the other galleries that will be open for Gallery Walk this Friday night on June 4th. But first Friday of every month. So before we talk about Gallery Walk, we're going to meet our featured artist this month. And as I mentioned, it's Dolores Justus. And just a little bit about Dolores. She's become a good friend over the past several years that I've worked with the art community, and I want to share her bio with you. And you'll notice from the way it is written, it is elegant and beautiful, just like everything Dolores touches. And by those who know Dolores, that's a pretty good description of her too, elegant and lovely. Inspired by the natural world, Dolores Justus's paintings reflect a sensitive and intuitive view that distills patterns of light and form into compositions that engage and inspire. Blurring the line between abstraction and representation, her painterly style also contributes to the interactive quality of her art. In her exploration of the confluence of optics and painterly abstraction, Justus's work belongs in the new landscape movement of contemporary American art. Dolores Justus' work has been exhibited in solo and group shows throughout the nation and abroad for more than 30 years. A few highlights include Natural Ground, Dolores Justus and Jean Sparling, who's another Hot Springs artist here. That exhibit was at the L. Ross Gallery in Memphis, Tennessee in 2021. Natural Selections solo exhibit at the Boger Gallery at College of the Ozarks in Point Lookout, Missouri in 2019. Natural Light solo exhibit at the Degas Gallery in New Orleans, Louisiana in 2019, and many, many more. The Delta exhibitions in Atlanta. Her collections of her work are included at the Arkansas Art Center in Little Rock, the University of Arkansas Health and Sciences Center in Fort Smith, and the Arts and Science Center for Southeast Arkansas in Pine Bluff, the Alluvian Hotel in Greenwood, Mississippi, and the Cardai Foundation in Little Rock, and many, many more. Justus's work was also featured on the cover of Elegant Homes magazine, January 2021, January 2019, and in 2017 as well, and on the HBO series True Detective in 2019. Justus earned her BFA from the University of Arkansas at Little Rock in 1998. She currently lives in Hot Springs, Arkansas, where she works as an artist, art director, and gallery owner. So please join me in welcoming Dolores Justus.
Hey, Mary, thanks for having me.
Oh, thank you so much. I think you're blushing from reading that letter description.
That was excruciating, yeah.
Well, you didn't pop up until afterwards, so you have to bear it on the screen. But thank you so much for joining us this evening and taking time to not only answer some questions about yourself and your artwork, but also sharing some images with us, which we'll walk through after we chat just a little bit. But first of all, tell us a little bit about you, about Dolores Justus, and what path led you to choose art? Is it following your bliss, or is it your life experience? So please share that with us.
No, it's definitely the bliss part. It was something, I always did. For as long as I can remember, I was always creating in one form or the other. And I seriously considered going into the sciences. Just about everyone in my family is in the science fields, and I love it. I'm very interested. But I knew that I would never get tired of making art. And so when it came time to declare what you're going to do in college or to take that path, and I chose art. And it's certainly, each piece that you do is completely new. It's a completely new puzzle or challenge, and it can be great and it can be frustrating, and but it is, it has been something that has really been an integral part of my life for as long as I can remember.
Now, were there other areas that you considered? I mean, you create beautiful paintings, but were there any other areas in the art field that you considered besides painting?
Oh, well, no, I knew painting was always my thing. Now, I do like doing some sculpture, and I've done a little bit of it, but until I have more space to work and a little bit more time, you have all the equipment that comes with every arm of the arts that you try to explore. And so I haven't done a whole lot of it lately, but I do like doing some sculpture. But painting is the thing I keep thinking about. And when I went to school and got my degree in art, I did take a lot of graphic design courses, all that they had, because I knew, just being a painter would be difficult career-wise to make a living, and that little problem with supporting yourself, And so those were great. They were great courses to prepare you to be able to have a marketable skill, to work with businesses. And also there was a lot artistically that you were taught too, that I think the other disciplines didn't focus on, that were important for creating better work too.
Excellent. What are some of the sources of inspiration for your work?
Oh, primarily nature. I was laughing at all the titles, all the exhibit titles, natural something. And because that's, that's something new all the time too. Every sunset, every sky, every tree, every rock, there's always something that will catch your eye. And, I'm not ever trying to replicate what I see, but at least to capture something of the essence of an experience in nature and to translate that and bring it to others.
And now can you tell me about how that process happens? How do you translate it from nature onto canvas?
Well, because I've done some plein air work, but because of my schedule, I have to do a lot of work either inside or at nights. So I photograph. I take a lot of photographs, and I'll also ideally sketch on location. But I work only from my own source material unless I have a commission and they have something that they want me to work from. But I always find that that's the best way, because everything is coming from what inspired you to begin with. You know, what caught your eye, what made you want to try to create something to capture part of that moment or something that you saw that was intriguing. And so having that personal experience with the place first really matters a lot. I remember reading about Andrew Wyeth's work, and people were always like, oh, you need to come here and paint here. You know, these are some great views. And his response was, but I don't have any connection with this place, you know. And so the places that we have these relationships with are important. And so much of his work, of course, was tied to the people too that lived there. But I always liked that. I always thought that was very interesting.
Do any other disciplines or experiences affect your artwork?
Oh, of course, yes. You know, again, the sciences. I love the sciences, and so just a curiosity about nature, about how things work. I think that mindset is very influential. Also, you know, just the act of creating art too. You're not, or I never want to just do work that, oh, this is exactly what I saw. Here, look, I recreated it. But to do something that you're taking that idea and then making it your own, making it something that's hopefully unique and that is worthwhile for the people who are going to be viewing the work, that because it's an emotional response. You know, it's there's a lot of yourself that goes into every piece. And so art is personal for the artist. It's also personal to the people and what they relate to when they see work. And, you know, I love that. I love that part. But it's, I think a lot of artists forget that. You know, they try to copy someone else's style, or they try to, they're not looking for the deeper meaning in the work. And I think there's some goals with art. You know, I oftentimes compare it to music, as because I've had people having a gallery, you hear all kinds of comments, but people that think that, oh, that's an abstract piece, I could do that, or, you know, that aren't taking the time to really look at art, and because they saw something that they didn't like, or this isn't a style that they like, and so they stop looking at art altogether. Or someone spends $100,000 on a banana with a piece of duct tape on it, and so unfortunately those things sometimes separate people from the visual arts. And it would be like someone saying, I don't like rap music, so I'm going to stop listening to music. The visual arts, there are lots of different genres. There are lots of different creators in the visual arts, and there's something for everybody. And that's something that can really transform where you are, transform that moment that can move you. And so I'm always so sad when people say, oh, they don't like art or they're not really into it. I always feel like you just haven't experienced the right pieces.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, Now, and you describe your artistic process and being true to your process. Is that what artistic integrity is, or what does artistic integrity mean to you?
Well, I think that's honoring your own work, and your own path. You're not, though I want to sell work because that's my profession, and that's part of how I support myself. That's not why I create it. The why I create it is, because I have something I want to try or something I want to communicate or capture and share. And I hold the art to a certain level too. I want everything I do to be the best I can do with that. And so I'm not going to paint 20 paintings of a certain subject matter exactly alike because it sells. And I'm pretty much a stickler. I mean, I'll do commission work, and that is, of course, you're working with somebody, but I always want it to be a piece that I'm proud of when I'm finished. And, artists have to support themselves, and there's no critique of anybody else. But I think, finding your own work, trying to be creating what you were meant to create. Anybody that tries to copy something, it's not going to be as good as the original. But if you do the work, your best work, then it is, then it's completely you. And, it's not that you can't learn from sources, because certainly there's a lot to learn that will help you along your path. So that's how I view it.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned learning. How important is art instruction to an artist after you become a professional artist? How important is continuing that instruction?
Well, I would recommend anybody who wants to be an artist to go to college and get a degree in art. And because, I mean, you can learn things on your own. You can learn things from other artists, but having the grounding that you get with the college experience, that's just a good basis for you to learn, like your starting point. It's almost a starting point. And I know some good artists that haven't gone that route, but they've taken courses or they've done other things and they've invested the time. So it comes down to investing the time to learn, and somebody who's a good teacher, someone that you admire as an artist that can help pass information along to save you from making mistakes, or sometimes you'll hit a wall where you don't know how to improve. You don't know what next steps to take with your work. And so much of what we do as artists is solitary. And so even just being willing to put yourself in a critique situation, either with a professor or a trusted art mentor, that can really help you see what you can't see and help you grow. And, that's everybody. You want to do that. You want to continue to grow.
Right. And education is important, but how important is talent in becoming an artist?
Was it Einstein has a quote? It's like 1% talent, 99% hard work.
Yeah.
That applies to it. And I think mainly it's, what are you interested in? What do you want to spend time doing? And if you do the things that you love, then you don't mind spending the 10,000 hours it takes to become proficient. I mean, it may be frustrating and difficult, but if this is the path that you choose, and so, yeah, I think that's with anything that you're going to get to a certain level with, you have to invest the time. But when you love it, you don't mind doing that. So it's like a job you love. You don't mind spending the time.
Excellent. Now, are there any myths that you disagree with about being an artist or the art world or the art industry?
Oh, probably one of the bigger myths is, well, there are a couple. One, that artists are completely irresponsible, airhead people. They just do whatever they feel like, they're not responsible, and even other artists will make comments about that. And it's like, there's no way you're surviving as an artist without having your stuff together, And all the artists that I know that are friends or that I respect are extremely professional and purposeful in what they do. And they are not just doing whatever they feel like. It's actually recommended. I mean, if you have the time to set regular studio hours where you're in the studio from 9 to 3 or however, it works, to the discipline of that. I mean, there's a lot that you have to do, even apart from creating the work, to be a professional artist. So that it's just artists just do whatever they feel like, and then have no discipline in their lives or in their practice, because that's crazy.
And I'm going to throw one of mine in there too. Well, I'm going to give you just a break of a myth or maybe a misconception. A lot of people who think that they could do it. They see something hanging on the wall and think they could do it, or think that the price is outrageous because it only took an artist a few minutes to do that, or a few hours.
Mm-hmm.
And so why on earth would it cost that much money for something that just took a few hours? But people don't always think about you mentioned thousands of hours of training and education and work that went into their craft to enable them to create that. So anyway, I just think that's
that's very true.
An incredible, yeah.
And it's not even after you've put in that amount of time, you still have a lot of failures. You have to be okay with failure to be an artist and to be able to use it and to learn from it and grow from it. And
as an artist, how do you handle, failure or criticism? I mean, how does it affect your art? If you have a failure or even a criticism that someone else gives you, how do you handle that?
Well, it depends who's giving you the criticism, and if it's coming from a helpful place or if it's coming from a mean-spirited place. Everyone has that, in their lives, people that come from both places. And it's better to not internalize that too much. If there's something valid, use it. And if there's something that's not valid, then let it go. I had an experience my first year or second year in college, a sculpture class I took. The teacher was really pushing everybody to do something really different and would come along and look at what you were doing, not knowing where you were heading with it, and offer critique. And then what I did, I tried to, so I was trying to do a good job in this class. And so I created something that I hated. And of course the teacher hated it too. And I thought, well, this is ridiculous. At least I'm going to like what I do. And so that was a really important lesson to essentially, you always create your art for you, for what you're proud of, or your vision realized in that, or what to stay true to that. And then at least you'll like it when it's done. And of course, once I did that, then he liked what I did. Once I did work that I wanted to do and stopped, it wasn't, it'd be different if there was something, a particular thing that was helpful along your path, but to just, to try to please someone is really usually a really bad direction to go with your work.
And now you own your own gallery, which we'll talk about a little bit more in a minute. But so you don't have that same feedback from others necessarily. Do you work with other galleries, and how do you work with other galleries, and how does being a gallery owner kind of influence that?
Well, I show my work at other galleries, and I have, for a long time. And certainly having a gallery, you really appreciate what a gallery does for you as an artist. And so being on the opposite end when they do a show, it's like, oh, you realize this was a lot of work for them to hang this show of my work and to do these promotions. And so you're appreciative of that. And it's a difficult business. And so it does. I think every artist that's going to show in a gallery needs to own a gallery, or at least have an experience of the back end, so that they can really understand what goes into representing someone's work and hanging an exhibit. And there's a lot of behind the scenes things that happen to put on a show.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, I have the utmost respect for gallery owners. And if you think back over the past, during the pandemic, for example, I mean, how important gallery owners are in connecting the public to the artist. I mean, there's no art shows or no art festivals or no anything like that. A gallery is the only way for many artists to have the public see their work. And some artists, there's a gallery commission that galleries get, but so much work goes into hanging the exhibit, but also paying the electric bill and the marketing of the work. And there's just so much work on the gallery end that makes artists successful, because it's the conduit between the artist and the public, and represents the artist in a way that a lot of times artists, I don't think, can represent themselves in some way. So an artist or a gallery really fills the gap there, in my opinion, anyway. I mean, from what
yeah. No, I think it's a very important relationship. And it is, I mean, we were going to talk later about the gallery side, but this is a great segue into that. When you see someone admiring a piece of work or connecting with the piece of work, and to be able to go and talk with them and share more information on the process that the artist used to create the piece, along with the artist, what's the artist's history? Where are they from? What do you have more work, or do you have other images, or what's their exhibit history? And so you're able to build on that response that they had with the work and make it deeper, and help the viewer connect on a greater level with the work, or what they're trying to do, what are the messages that they're trying to communicate in their work. And so I think that's all very important.
Yeah, sorry, I got a little bit ahead of us.
No, that's just fine. Yeah. But I won't have any new information.
That's okay. We'll cover all of it anyway. And now, okay, I want to focus back on your work. Now I got kind of on the gallery side of it. Now, do you commission work? And how does the commission process work? Are there issues, and what are the benefits and rewards for a commission?
Yeah, I've had several commissions of my work, and usually, it's someone who is familiar with the work and likes the style and wants something, particular size or subject matter that they feel like would work. And I like getting commissions because it's a validation. Oh, someone really likes your work. They're going to commission a piece. And that always feels wonderful. But it is hard because, again, you get back to worrying about pleasing someone else when you're creating your work. And some artists, that does not bother them and they don't think about it, but I'm not one of those. And so commissions are more difficult because of that. And so I've gotten to, I try to create more than one piece if I have a commission. And so I try to create a piece that is, okay, I think this is what they're asking for. And then I create a piece. This is what I would do if I were just left to my own devices with this subject matter. And most of the time, they like the one that I would do just for myself. But it helps take the pressure off if I can do two pieces then and give a choice. And it's more work, but then I have another piece, that I can sell or paint over or do something else with. So,
and what? And I asked you a little bit about your process earlier, but I haven't really asked you about your medium and what type of medium you typically work with.
Well, the larger paintings are oil paintings, and I like that because oil paints are open longer. You can work with them more. I do add a medium to the oils so that they will dry more quickly, but it's like a day or a few days instead of a few weeks. And so that helps me not lose the momentum that I have in working on a piece, to be able to work on it one day, get it to a certain point, let it dry overnight, and then maybe come back in the next day or the following day and resume working. So I really like it for that. I also like a lot of the luminosity of the oil paints in particular. And so that's actually where I went. I did a lot of watercolors, and then I started adding things to the watercolors because I wanted more saturation in some of the colors. So I'd add pastel or colored pencil, and then I did some acrylic on too. I'd add acrylics to the watercolor paintings, and I still do watercolors and acrylic pieces, but those are on paper pieces, and it's just a different process. But for doing something large, it's really helpful to have that open time for drying, and to be able to do more layers in the work.
Absolutely. Well, we've talked about your work and your process. So now let's take a look at some of your work. And as we're going through this, if you wouldn't mind sharing a little bit about the pieces. I'm going to share my screen here and share screen. Can you see it?
I think might be happening. I don't know what everyone's seeing right now.
We can't see it yet, Mary.
Okay.
Let me try again. Share.
There we go.
Okay. It just wouldn't be a presentation if we didn't have some sort of glitch. How's that?
That's all right.
Okay, there we go. Dolores Justus. Okay, now we'll take a look at some of your work. I love this quote at the top. The most beautiful experience we can have is the mysterious. It is the fundamental emotion that stands at the cradle of true art and true science. Albert Einstein. This is just so lovely.
Thank you. Um, there was an Einstein quote that I had found previously because I have so many people in the sciences in my family. I've always been interested in the overlap between the arts and sciences. This quote says, "All religions, arts, and sciences are branches of the same tree. All these aspirations are directed toward ennobling man's life, lifting it from the sphere of mere physical existence, and leading the individual toward freedom." And I just love that. And so, and I think that is the goal, with the arts too. You're trying to create something that does speak on a more universal level, and that does lift, take people out of the everyday and connect them to that. This piece, Being Still, is 36 by 48, and it's a looser style. It was from a trip I took to Alaska, and this was a shoreline. I do a lot of shoreline pieces, or where water and land and sky meet. I always like those intersections.
Okay, we'll go on to the next one.
And this is another coastal one. This is Oregon coast. I'm originally from Oregon, and so I go back and visit family there. And this is a little section of beach that we went to a lot, and it's pretty loose. You wouldn't necessarily know it was beach if I didn't tell you. And it's an older piece, but I always really liked it.
Now, where on the Oregon coast is it?
Lincoln City, just a little south of Lincoln City, and It's actually a little bit of a inlet estuary part. So you have and it connects to a little river too.
The colors look very much like Oregon, though.
Yeah, lots of gray.
Yeah,
but it's beautiful. I love it. I love being there. I think it's a really pretty. I have a lot of Oregon inspired work, along with hot springs. This is also an older piece, and this is one that I exhibited at the Dryden Gallery in Memphis many years ago, and it's in a collection of a client, and it was, pretty loosely rendered vegetation and hills, and tonal. I like doing work. I have real bright work, and then I have this whole body work that's very tonal. And they're both, they're different directions to take, but it's fun to sort of push and play with color like that. This one, Emergence, this was in this piece, and the one that comes right after it were in an exhibit up the galleries at Library Square, also known as the Butler Center, and they were paintings that I did from a swamp. I got lost on my way to, I think, visit my sister or go to New Orleans or something, and somewhere in Mississippi came across the most beautiful swamp, and it was right before spring, and there was just a tad bit of green, but things were starting to just turn from winter into spring, and there were all these branches, these red branches that, once they get the foliage on, you don't see them, and then you have the reflections of that and all these interesting lines. And so that's where this is work is based from, but of course it's abstracted, and you
Right.
would never know it was from a swamp.
Well, but that's what you find out when you go into a gallery or you speak to an artist, that just looking at a piece, you don't know the history of it. You know whether it speaks to you or you like the colors or you're drawn to it, but to know the story behind it, I think makes it so much more impactful to the viewer too. And
Well,
the title, yeah.
And everything can be that thing that sparks your imagination to create, and
Right.
I think that's sort of fun because you can see it everywhere. This one, I'd done an interview recently with Philip Mayo on the Arkansas Artist blog, that he's been interviewing Arkansas artists, and it's done a wonderful job. But this one, I had done a painting and I just didn't like it. And so I painted over it, not all of it, but so this painting is built on a failed painting, and a little bit of the painting, the first painting, is a little bits of it are visible with this one. But, and I've done that several times before, where I've not liked the painting that I'd done and not happy with it, and then use it as a ground for doing something else. And because I'm willing to give up that and try again, or build on top of it, and to get something else that I'm happier with. And so I always say that that's a good analogy on life, how we can, some of our greatest triumphs can be built upon failures.
Right. And now the title of this one, The Soul of a Stream. How do you choose a title for a painting?
Sometimes I'll do just like where I was, hillside at dusk, or, something like that. But I do try to think of other titles when I have time, or if it clicks, or sometimes I'll think of the title before I even start painting, because, so much of that's the other thing I think people don't realize, is so much of what you create, before you do anything, there's so much thought that goes into deciding which direction you're going to head, and when you do your studies or sketches, and choosing a direction and then adjusting along the way. There's the thinking part of it is so much more time than the actual execution part. This piece, The Edge of Dawn, it's one of a series of 3 paintings from Orange Beach, Florida. I don't know if it's not Florida. That's in Alabama, I think. Is that Alabama's beach? Yeah. Anyway, and the colors of the water before the sun came up were just incredible. And they went through these changes, and the sky and the water, and the purples and golds, and it was just amazing. So I did 3 paintings. This is one I have at the gallery. Actually, it's going to be in this exhibit in June. That was from that. And it was just really fun to see just all of the transitions of light. This is another one that was in that series. That was also before the sun came up, and just the changes in the light and in the color as it got closer to the sun rising.
That's beautiful.
And this is it's a more simple piece, but it's the sky. I was driving, I'd gone to Glacier National Park on a trip, and driving back, I think I was in Montana. I'm not exactly sure, but just the last vestiges of color in the sky before night fell, and I just really was just struck by that and took a terrible photo out of the car window from which to build on. But it helps you remember it when you don't have time to set up or, do more. This is, I have another painting of this series called Elements 2. And this was a steelhead spawning stream in Oregon. It's driving over from Eastern Oregon back over to the Willamette Valley area. And the stream, the water was so clear, you could not tell which rocks were submerged in the water or above the water. And then you had all these wonderful reflections of leaves and the sky on the water. It was elements because you had all these different elements at play at this one place. It was just a magical, just a gorgeous, gorgeous place. And this is an Oregon coast painting. It's a pretty big one, 48 by 36. And I like, how the light is. I've done several of these pieces where you're led with the pools of light to the ocean. And the forms of rocks are always intriguing to me too. And they become almost abstracted kind of forms as well. But have a lot of good memories from being there. This one is a local stream. This is from Gene Sparling's property. He and I was going to do more to it. Usually, I would have added in more color of the water and other things, but I liked it like this. So it's stream sketch, What Remains Unsaid. I liked the looseness and the directness of it, and you still feel that there's water too. This is another one from Gene's property, Stream Afternoon Light, and I was hiking, and the sun was just coming through all the grasses, and this one rock was just especially illuminated, and so I took photos and then worked from this. This is the piece that was in last year's Greenway Art Moves outdoor exhibit. Yeah.
Yes, that's a lovely piece.
Thank you.
From last year.
This is another coastal one with just the rocks and in an inlet, and then some pieces of landforms, and then beyond to out where the ocean was. This is another landscape, pretty loose, where just suggestion of vegetation and a water, a river through a landscape. And it's, this is another one where it's pretty loose. This one I just did, and it's from the photograph that I took as a reference, which it doesn't look anything like. It was up on, I'm trying to think what mountain. It was Acadia National Park in Maine. And just the rock was just so gorgeous, and you had wildflowers and then clumps of vegetation, and then you're up. It's like the highest point is Cadillac Mountain on the eastern seaboard, and so that was really a wonderful experience. And this is another one from traveling and taking photographs and then abstracting the shapes to make very simple forms. And I really liked how that one. This one is a hot springs piece. It was actually on my way home, and just the lighting of the fields against the dark softness of the trees, and the next one that you just went to was also, this one was snow, and and you know, the I don't know what they were, fir trees or what they were, along with some aspen trunks, and just that contrast with the snow. It's always, I always have loved winter scenes for that. This one is a Delta piece, and it's called Traveling Light. And it's just a very minimal, you know, tonal piece, but the field in the lower part, and then some trees, and then a distant line of trees that you see when you go in the Delta.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love this.
This one, I didn't get to keep this one around very long. It's one that I did, and again, I would have normally done a lot more work on it, but I did it. And it's like, no, I think I'm done. I'm going to stop. And it sold like that first month, which is nice, you know, that someone responded to it and really liked it and wanted it. But this is very more high key colors, so it's the brighter colors, tonal as far as you don't have a lot of variation in value, but I still liked it. This one, that next one again is a pretty tonal piece, and that piece it's small. It's 12 by 30, morning fog and sunrise, and that's exactly what it was. And I remember this piece took a long time. You know, sometimes to make something look quick and easy and like you just did it takes a while. This one, Fields of Gold, this one's at Carti has this piece. They have collected work by Arkansas artists to have in their beautiful facility in Little Rock. And that has that one, well, and this one, and a lot of the pieces I keep a lot of transparency with the oils, because I like the light. I like the glow that gives to the work. This one was a hill that was illuminated in light, just one section of it. And the part I was in when I took the photo was in shadow. And then you had this just gold section of hillside. And again, it's pretty abstract, but that was what it was from. It's called Sun in My Eyes. This Trailing Light, this is a hot springs piece. This is out at the fish hatchery. I don't know if you guys ever walked there, and just wonderful afternoon light. And this is Island's piece, and this just very simple forms. This is painted on top of a piece I wasn't as happy with, and that I really liked how the underpainting worked with this one too. Before Spring 1, this that's an Oregon farmland, and just very loosely rendered buildings, and the rose, it was right before, it was early, you know, right before spring, right before things were starting to come out in the fields. This is a, oh man, I need to hurry along. I'm taking too long. Anyway, this is, again, abstracted based on nature, but very just, I'm reducing things down to the very minimal forms.
Yeah, that's lovely.
The same with that. And this one as well, and just this one has a real softness to it. It's called Being Led. This is a Pattern Field says farmland piece, but again, abstracted quite a bit. And this one's Light on the Hills, and abstracted and color, more intense color to communicate.
Where was this one? Yeah.
Northern California. I mean, not Northern Colorado. Northern Colorado.
It looked like Northern California to me.
Yeah, Northern Colorado. So you had sort of these bare hills, exposed bare hills with a little bit of vegetation, and I just liked it. Yeah. This is the grasses and rocks along the Columbia Gorge. This is a pretty recent piece. And this is, I've done a lot, or a series, so that the High Noon Transcendence, that was the grasses and water. And this is another piece called Light Music, where it's grasses and water. And so you're playing with reflection and those the lines. I loved all the lines and the shadows of the lines and of the grasses. And I've done several pieces that have sort of played on those concepts. This is called Jewels. My driveway, you know, we get a lot of water here, as we are painfully aware of. And one year the driveway was just covered with all these beautiful leaves, and there was water still pouring over it. And so I took photos and I did a couple paintings from that. Sort of I don't know if I should tell that was just the driveway, but I called it Jewels because you find beauty everywhere.
Right, absolutely. I love the title of this one.
Confetti. And this is, I do these bright abstract tree pieces. This is another one called Natural Light. And I think there are several in this series. Another one, Leaning In.
Oh, that's gorgeous. The contrast between the yellows and oranges and that blue is just so, it just draws you into it. I love these pieces.
Thank you. This is an acrylic on paper one, the Summer Heart piece. And it's, you know, because it's different medium, it handles differently, which can push you in another direction, which I think is a good, you know, it's good to try.
Oh, yeah.
This one's an oil on paper, so you still have the looseness and luminosity of oils. This one is also oil on paper. And watercolor. That last one is watercolor.
That one.
Oh, you're just fine.
Okay, I'm going. Okay, there you go. I didn't mean to flip past it. My finger.
Oh no, it's no worries. I just put one in of the watercolors. So.
And is there, before we go on to is there anything that I didn't ask you about as an artist before we go on to the galleries? We've looked at your work, and is there anything that I didn't ask you or cover with you that you would like to share with those who are watching tonight and will be watching for months in the future?
Well, that's a lot of pressure, but I think we've covered it, you know, as far as I can know, and anybody can come and to the gallery anytime, or email me if they have additional questions.
Well, and I love what you shared tonight, because I mean, I've been to your gallery many, many times and have seen so many exhibits there, many not featuring your work, but I've seen the pieces in the back, and I feel like I saw some tonight that I haven't seen that style before, or haven't seen those pieces. So thank you for sharing not just what you have in your gallery right now, but your process with us, and some of the other pieces that are in other collections. So can you share with us now a little bit about the gallery and how long you've been there, and not only how long you've been there in the gallery, but what you'll be featuring for Gallery Walk this month, and how you plan for Gallery Walk. It's a lot of questions. Sorry.
Okay. Yes, I'll try to make it quick because we're like at time.
No.
So the gallery walk, of course, first Friday of every month. I've had the gallery for 16 years. It'll be 17 years in August since I've had the gallery. And this June, I'm going to do this June and July, so a 2-month show instead of just normally I hang an exhibit every month. I have work by Mark Blaney, who's a new artist to the gallery. I've admired his work for quite a while, and he has some beautiful pieces, so I'd love for people to come out. I also have work that will be featured by Dennis McCann, who's a pastel artist from Little Rock, and he does remarkable work, along with plein air work by John Lasseter, some work by Elizabeth Weber, and of course, I keep sculpture in the center by Robin Horn and Sandra Sell, and then wood-turned vessels by Jean Sparling. And Jean's a local artist here in Hot Springs too. That's a real treasure.
Absolutely. Well, I'm going to go on and cover some more about what will be happening in Gallery Walk, and then we'll go back, and if anybody has questions for Dolores or about Gallery Walk, we can cover those kind of when I finish the little bit of information about Gallery Walk. And for people who are interested in not just about it right now, but kind of finding out where they're located, their addresses, you can do that by visiting hotspringsarts.org or the Hot Springs Area Cultural Alliance Facebook page. We put an event up every month so that it's easy to find out what's happening on Gallery Walk. And most of them have hours too. Gallery Walk typically starts at 5, but some open a little bit earlier at 4. Some are open till 8, some till 9 or 9:30. So it's up to the individual galleries. What I did for Gallery Walk is, if you started at Justice Gallery this week or this Friday night, after Justice Gallery, you could go around the corner on Broadway to the warehouse. Now that's a pop-up gallery, so a little bit different, where artists, it's kind of like an art festival almost, happening in one spot. There's music, Dean Agus is there, and snacks and drinks, but then some local artists who are there with their artwork on display, and crafters as well. And then heading on down Central Avenue, you would go to Legacy Fine Art Gallery. That's at 804 Central. And they have a new Wild Cats exhibition by artist Rahindra Singh, and some new fun party scenes by Carol Ketchen, and great new racing pieces by a local artist, Patrick Cunningham. And then after Legacy Gallery, you can go on down to American Art Gallery at 724 Central. And American Art Gallery, previous to this, was Arkansas Art Gallery in another location, but that gallery has been open since the very first Gallery Walk over 30 years ago. They have the knife maker Claude Lambert, who has new knives. There's some great jewelry and vintage jewelry pieces there. Jimmy Leach acrylic work, and then great pottery and pine needle baskets, which are just stunning, by Valerie Hanks-Getz. On down to All Things Arkansas. They have all, collect pottery and glass work, and as well as crystals at All Things Arkansas. But they'll be hosting Dorothy Northern, an artisan who'll be showcasing handcrafted jewelry, and she's brand new to All Things Arkansas. From All Things Arkansas down to Artist Workshop Gallery, and that's a workshop gallery where the artists representing several different artists, and they take turns working, and different artists are featured every month. This month, Bonnie Rishi and Patty Triple, and the miniature artist each month. This month, it's June and Karen Garner and Joan Kunath. On down to Gallery Central at their location right next to the Waters Hotel, or part of the Waters Hotel, really, on the first floor. They showcase different Arkansas artists, And they also have clothing and gift items and things, but some nice artwork as well. Collective Coffee and Tea has kind of a pop-up gallery this month. It's by local photographer Jeremy Rogers, who you've probably seen his work before, some incredible lightning photos, and that's at Collective Coffee and Tea. Whittington Gallery, which is located on Whittington Avenue, that's at 307. And not only do they have, I think, over 40 different artists represented there, but this month they'll be featuring the poetry of Elmer Beard. He's a published author, retired educator, lifelong freedom fighter, and he will have his book, Let Reason Roll, Race, Religion, and Reflection. And he was also an Arkansas Governor's Arts Award recipient this year. On down to Emergent Art, which is located at 341 Whittington Avenue. And from Whittington Avenue, you can leave Emergent Arts and enjoy Gallery Walk with the Pride Gallery Walk, and follow the sidewalks down Whittington Avenue and go up Central and Reserve Street and pop in the galleries during the walk. And they invite you to wear your best rainbow apparel or rainbow wear. And in the same parking lot as Emergent Arts is Dryden Pottery. They've been there or been around for over 75 years. I think Zach Dryden is a third generation artist who will be throwing on the wheel that night. And actually, I just received one of Zach Dryden's pieces for my birthday as a birthday gift, some beautiful pottery. And then they'll also be exhibiting the paintings of a young Hot Springs artist, Alex Brown. So that's just kind of a few highlights of what the gallery, but you know, one of the best things about going out for Gallery Walk is seeing the other people who are out for Gallery Walk. And I think we've all missed that over the past year and a half. I love going in and seeing my friends at Justice Gallery and at all of the other galleries who'll be out and about. And this is just, you know, it's nice to, it's going to be a beautiful evening. We won't have rain on Friday. And so I encourage you to call your friends this evening and head out and enjoy Gallery Walk. And actually you can start celebrating a little early with Bridge Street Live tomorrow night. On Thursday evening, we have Gallery Walk on Friday, and then tub races on Saturday. So it's a fun weekend kicking off Thursday evening in Hot Springs. So now, Paul, I'll see, were there any questions about Gallery Walk or for Dolores?
Well, good job, both of you. That was one of your best programs yet, Mary.
Oh, thank you. It's all Dolores. She's so eloquent, and I just am so grateful that she was on with us this evening.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you for being here. We did get a couple shout outs. Julie said hello to everyone, so thank you for watching, Julie. And Susan says, hi, Dolores. It's lovely to see you. What excites you about art?
Is that the question?
Yes.
Oh. Yeah, goodness. I'll be tackling the meaning of life next. But there's just so much, because it's exciting, because every piece that you do is new, and it's just it's a wonderful vehicle to be able to bring good to the world and to move people and hopefully bring joy. I think it's also a universal language, the visual arts, along with music. It's something that we can connect to. We can grow to appreciate work that maybe we didn't always appreciate, and then the more we learn, we can see something of it. I think it's been, I've heard people during the pandemic how they've have felt like it was very important. Arts were very important to continue, and it's reflective of our culture, and hopefully will show, the good art continue to be created that will enlighten and bring us together to a better place to, help us grow. That's that's the goal with everything, is to, bring joy and reflect some of the universal and in the everyday.
Very inspiring answer. That's great. We also got some, looks like Scott and Jody were watching, so shout out to both of you. And looks like that's all we have tonight, but I want to give both of you an opportunity to make any final remarks, like always. So start with our guest, Dolores.
Just thanks for having me. Really appreciate all the library does, and Mary as well. You guys make our community better.
Thank you. Right back at you. How about you, Mary? Anything else you'd like to point out?
Well, thanks to Dolores and Paul and to all of the artists who live and work here in Hot Springs. And, I just want to encourage people to support our local artist community and purchase art. It's easy to go online and click and shop and buy something, or buy, reproduction things. What else can you purchase and is a family treasure that will be passed on to generation to generation? It touches your soul. It touches the soul for generations to come, other than art. And so I just encourage people to support our local artists. Go out to Gallery Walk, and make your life richer and support our local creative economies as well. So, and thank you, Paul, for the program and for all that you do, and to Dolores for being on here tonight. And next month, we're going to have another artist who's featured in Justice Gallery. Gary Simmons will be our artist next month, so in July. So I look forward to having Gary on and share a little of share his artwork and his sage wisdom as well. So
yes, that'll be the first Wednesday in July, which is the 7th.
Yes.
Oh, and we got one more comment in from Scott, who said, enjoyed the interview, gorgeous paintings.
Oh,
Thank you.
All right, well, thank both of you. Thank everyone for watching, either live or in the future, and we'll see you next month. And everyone take care. Be safe.
Thank you. Thank you.